Wow. Is this a room of gorgeous gals or what? I have to make a confession. I haven't always been fearless. For most of my life, I was scared to death of not being liked or loved. So I wore this mask. I call her Dancing Bear. She looked like this. Hey! You want me to do your project, to work on your business? Just keep piling on. I never say no, no matter how much is on my plate. You see, I thought if I performed perfectly, then and only then would I be valued. So I put on the facade of the people pleaser. A lot of us wear masks, right? The mask of the martyr, or the judge, or the know-it-all, or the tough cookie. Do any of these sound familiar? My facade had to come off because it was exhausting to dance my way through life trying to be loved. It ended abruptly and in a very shocking way in a meeting with the president of a major financial company. There I was, being asked to create an ad campaign, and in Don Draper style, like on Mad Men, I created 3 campaigns. Campaign number 1, I showed my client on boards, on easels. Campaign number 2, and then danced over to present campaign number 3. Then I stood quietly and I asked my client, Peter, which one do you like the best? Which campaign would you like to go with? He got so mad. His face turned red. He rose from his desk and he pounded his fist and he said, I pay you a lot of money to build this brand. Stop trying to please me and you tell me which campaign to run. Well, that was unbelievably unexpected, and I realized that that Dancing Bear mask had to come off, but how was I going to peel it off? I only knew one way to operate, and that was to be the people pleaser, the one that was less than, the one that would be piled on and overwhelmed and had no idea how to say no. So I started something called self-talk, and we've heard a lot about that today. I started to tell myself that I was the expert on building brands, that I was an authority, that I was so much more than a copywriter or an account executive. And I went into the meeting with that kind of feeling, and that Dancing Bear mask over time, it did not take overnight, started to peel off. And as it peeled off, something happened. The real me emerged. And it took time. I didn't like her right away. I wasn't sure if she would be liked. But as I peeled it off, I started to feel my own inner power, and the connections that I made with other women, with my clients, with my friends, and with my family deepened. Because for the first time, they could see the real me. It was a powerful moment. So I want you to think about the masks that you might wear. What masks may you put on to protect yourself, to feel safe? And all of you have your dream journals right in front of you, because we're going to do a little work together so you can start to take some notes. What mask do I wear? What do I maybe need to peel off? Because that's really the beginning of living fearlessly. So what is fearless? Well, I don't think it's about, jumping out of an airplane or crossing the border into North Korea or even scaling a mountain like this woman. I can't do any of those things, can you? No. I think that fearlessness, the way I live a fearless life, is on a whole nother level. For example, I grew up in this humble apartment in Cleveland, Ohio. Do we have any Ohioans here? I've met so many. Oh my gosh, yeah. So I grew up in this apartment in Cleveland, Ohio, And I left my Midwestern roots to go here, the University of Alabama. Roll Tide. Now, from leaving Ohio to go to Alabama, that was a bit fearless, right? Everybody else was going to Ohio State and Indiana. I'm like, I'm going to Alabama. You might want to ask why. Well, it was actually cheaper to go to the University of Alabama than Ohio State. Can you believe it back then? And my father loved the football team and Coach Bear Bryant, so I had to. Next thing I know, I land in Alabama, and it's rush. Right? I'm going to rush a sorority. My dad was a frat boy. He said, baby, you got to be in a sorority. So I stand outside in a dress and stockings like all the other girls and a full face of makeup at 110 degrees in the shade. Right? And I'm standing in front of the Kappa Kappa Gamma house. Any Kappa Gamma Gammas in the room? So I'm standing in front of the Kappa Gamma house, and all of a sudden the doors open, and this sparkling Kappa in a baby blue dress comes and grabs my arm. And she looks at my name tag and she says, well, hello, Robin. I'm Kate. And then she looks underneath my name tag, my name, and she sees Cleveland. She says, well, Cleveland, that's a long way from home. Is it Cleveland, Tennessee, or Cleveland, Mississippi? I said, Ohio, almost apologizing. She said, well, a Yankee no less. Hey, girls, come meet the Yankee. I swear to God, I did not know I was a Yankee till that very moment. I really didn't. I loved the University of Alabama, and after those 4 years of college, I ended up working for Ted Turner in Atlanta at Turner Broadcasting. I was on the team that helped launch TNT, and then after that, I helped turn CNN into the world's news leader. It was a very exciting time, except for one thing. I had made a bet with my father that by the time I turned 30, I'd have my own ad agency. So when I turned 30 years old, I went to the folks at Turner and I told them that I was going to resign. And just like you, I started my company out of my apartment in Atlanta because I was tired of living someone else's dream and I wanted to live my own. Does this sound familiar? Yeah, so I struck out on my own. I cashed in all the stock I had earned at Turner over the 4 years I was there, and I took them as a client, my first client. And then I took that company after a few years. It started to grow, and I moved to Los Angeles, where more of my clients were in the entertainment industry. Los Angeles was very different from Atlanta, and it was very exciting to be there. And during that time, we rode Big Fish, my company, the internet wave, and I turned my firm into a multi-million-dollar business, and we worked on projects like Desperate Housewives and Lost and Project Runway and Top Model, and we were the go-to agency. I was buying media. It was very exciting, except for one thing. I was on crushing deadlines, and they were crushing my soul. So I decided to dissolve that online division of my company and take my daughter and my husband and move them here to Santa Fe, New Mexico. So that's my dream home in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and that's a far cry from the apartment building that I grew up in with my father and my sister. And I love Santa Fe, New Mexico, and it's been a great ride. But getting there was hard because when you make courageous moves, when you chuck something that's actually working for something that you really need, you will bump up against fear. And boy, did that happen to me. As we were leaving Los Angeles, our moving truck got stolen from right in front of the house. All my shoes, ladies. My handbags. All the things I really didn't need. Only things I wanted, right? And then guess what happened? I get to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I'm immediately rushed to the hospital for an emergency appendectomy. Those back-to-back events made me feel so vulnerable and made me feel so scared. What had I done? It made me question everything. But then I got quiet with myself and I thought, I can run back to LA. I can get back on that hamster wheel. I can continue to just crank out ads and get people to watch more TV. Or I can live here and I can build brands and I can help women reach their highest potential and I can write books and speeches and I can grow. This one or this one? I chose Santa Fe. And it was harder as I bumped up against that fear. It was a test. And they say Santa Fe either sucks you in or spits you out. And then there were many moments where I wondered which side I was on that equation, but now I know. It was a test to live somewhere that my heart sang, and I had to earn it. Okay, so Santa Fe, that story, and all the stories I just told you are a reframe of events that happened in my life.